Hey guys, it's Debbie and I hope y'all are doing well. I wanted to pop on here now that I have my artwork back, and I wanted to show you guys a really quick video of the behind the scenes of the piece of artwork I did for the Pollution or Solution juried art exhibition, and I entitled this I'm sorry, Flower Power Peace and Love. And I'm wearing a little peace shirt here, and you can see that this is a peace symbol. So I want to just kind of walk you through what I did. This is actually a white canvas. And in order for it to not be so stark white, I actually took tea bags and I soaked them to get the tea, activated. And then what I ended up doing was I kind of wrung them out a little bit, and then I tea stained this canvas, okay? And I've posted some pictures about this, so you might get a better look at it. But there's these little thin strips, maybe about this thin, of rose-stained watercolor kind of multimedia paper. And all in through here are all of these stripes, okay? So these stripes are two different shades of purple. And what's interesting is actually red roses. If you take the pigment and you either squeeze it out or you kind of smear it onto the paper, actually turn purple. So this was two different shades of red roses that I used, and I'd had that from a prior project that I did. And then what I did was I ended up cutting them into long strips. Now, all of these flowers on here are dried red roses, not the garden variety roses. These are like the long stem red roses, basically from the grocery store, but I dry them out. And then what I did was I arranged them in a peace symbol. And then all of the little petals in between are from like yellowish colored roses, and those are kind of scattered amongst the picture. And basically, I wanted to, because it was supposed to be around the topic of pollution or solution, one, they were encouraging us to either use upcycled or recycled items. I'm a vegan, a plant-based vegan, so for me, I like the idea of using something natural and using plant pigments and the natural earth elements. And that's what I did for this. So the little thin strips that are on the canvas, I literally just used like school glue. And I actually used that for these as well. This one on the bottom is falling a little bit. And then when we went to go pick it up today, there was a major downpour going on. Thankfully, I had a plastic bag and it was okay. But I did realize that, just FYI for future reference, if you're ever doing this, I had taken picture hanging, paraphernalia to put around the back because they wanted it ready to be hung, on the wall. And when I went to pick it up today, it had been on exhibit for about 3 weeks, and I just took it out of the bag. I realized that the wire was gone. So I don't know if maybe it fell and that's what jarred that, or if it was just in the transport of getting it there. But I used a really heavy, like almost like a super glue to adhere it on the inside of the wooden, runners for the canvas. And apparently, I don't know if maybe it was the heat or something, it didn't hold. So for future reference, I need to keep that in mind. And they, there's other ways you can do it. It came with like little screws, but I thought, well, I don't think I need to screw that in because this is so lightweight. Well, apparently for future reference, I do. But there was also a little bit of a backstory about this. I've kind of noticed this pattern with my art and everything, is that I love pop culture. So I tend to seem to be creating things from movies or from, television shows or something like that. So we were to write a artist statement, which normally they would have adhered to that, but I guess they must have forgotten to do that, because when I went to pick it up today, one of the ladies said, oh yeah, I'm really a stickler for making sure you put that back on there, because she goes, if you name your painting or something like that, you might forget what you named it. Well, thankfully, I screenshotted that when we were down visiting the exhibition, and then I was able to copy and paste it into some social media posts that I had. So I have that because when I submitted the artist statement, I didn't screenshot it, and then when I sent it in with the email, it was gone, but they printed it, which was awesome. And so, excuse me, for the backstory on that, for me, in addition to being like a plant-based vegan, wanting to use earth elements, kind of being in the healing arts, there was two different aspects that I wrote in the artist statement. One was that it reminded me of the original show, the original version of the Wonder Years, and the sister in that was like really kind of hippie-ish, and she had an outdoor wedding, and in the scene they encircled them in these beautiful like fresh flowers out into the grass, and I don't think it made a peace symbol, but it was a huge circle, and it made me just kind of think of that and that era. And then the other deeper kind of meaning for that, for me anyway, was that I was chronically ill for decades, and I sought out natural paths, and I sought out natural methods of healing. One, because I had been chronically ill as a child and had experienced like allergies with hay fever and a variety of different things, and was always taking either prescription medication and or over-the-counter medication, which really started to break down my immune system. Then when I got my first real job in like the art world, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, I was doing visual display merchandising, and we were around different things like ink and paint. Specifically, I noticed that spray paint was really bothering me. Even though we were doing it outside, I had requested to the man who I was working with that I needed to have like a mask, not like a major respirator, kind of like one of those masks, but something, because my liver was already compromised, as were some of my other organs, and I felt the need to have that even when I was outside. So for me, I actually sought out various natural paths that gave, natural things to kind of help bring my body back into balance. And one of the doctors that I saw, he actually used like plant tinctures. So for me, it was kind of a reflection of, my healing journey from being chronically ill to kind of using natural things to help myself heal. It's me being a plant-based vegan and wanting to kind of like respect the environment and, be able to repurpose and reuse things from Mother Nature. And then sticking with the theme, pollution or solution. And there's kind of another little aspect to this with these little, stripes, if you will. I can't remember my exact statement, but it was almost to make it look like imprisoned. And because of that era of back in like the 60s and the 70s, that's when people really started to experience what things were happening in our environment. And that's like around the time of like when Earth Day first started, and they were realizing, things that were, polluting the atmosphere. So I kind of wanted to incorporate that. So that was kind of part of my process with that. But anyway, it's a super easy idea that you can do. It was funny because when I was explaining it to one of the other artists who had something on display during the exhibit, she's like, oh yeah, I saw that. And then I had told her about the roses, and she's like, now these roses aren't the ones that you use to stain the background, because they would have not stayed intact, or if they did, that's amazing. And I said, no, they aren't. But now my dilemma, if you will, is I've got 3 pieces, and I'll bring on the other ones on another one. I just wanted to focus on one at a time, where I am going to store these, because it's kind of fragile. It's sort of big. I don't know if I have wall space, even though you can see behind me, the walls in this room are actually like this deep kind of burgundy, Burgos kind of Merlot kind of color. And it would look pretty in here, although I don't know that it would necessarily be ideal, to have in here. My goal, because of course my husband's like, okay, so I'm already working on a piece for cinematic devotion. I have 2 or 3 ideas. I have to get at least one piece done, and then I can maybe focus on the other two. He's like, can you put a price on this one? I'm like, yeah, but I'm already attached to it. And that's the problem. And then the other thing is that I'm hoping to have like enough to do, some sort of a pop-up of my own art, like current art, and then art that I've done through the years, various different, techniques. But yesterday, I had posted, like, I'm not kidding, like a 10 or 15-second reel of like 3 pictures on one of the other platforms, because I'm always like doing these reels challenges and whatever. And it was National Onion Day. So I had posted a picture, which I might have shown on here before or some of the other platforms, I'm not sure, of using red onion skins to create like natural watercolor. And what's interesting is if you steep the onion skins, now I've done this with flower petals as well, but it comes out really, really faint. Like you have to have the flowers when they are sort of wilting. You put it in hot water and then you, squeeze out the pigment. Now for this particular one, I ended up smearing them. I put on like a plastic bag or a glove or something like that because it would stain my fingers, and I like smeared them in circles and went up and down in different directions with that. You can directly squeeze the pigment out of the roses, and the darker the rose, the more it will show up. But anyway, getting back to the onion peels, similar idea. So I took red onion peels, the papery skins, okay, and put them in hot water and steeped them. And then the water turns, like a pinkish color. And it's funny because these smartphones that we have, when you punch in food, like it'll think that that's food. And it was interesting, really looking for pictures to post for something. It associated this pink water in this glass holder, which was basically like a jar, as wine. And so I just thought that was really interesting. Like a lot of times, like it would associate like flowers with food, but there are edible flowers. Anyway, so what's interesting with these different pigments, depending on what you're using, okay, so you've got red roses and the pigment is turning out purple when you do it. When you do the red onion peels, okay, which I could have clearly like stained a canvas with that, it comes out pink when you're painting it, but when it dries, it actually comes out like a neon green. So it's like super cool, and it's almost like a science experiment. And I posted that and it got like a ton of views, which I just thought was interesting. I don't know if it was the music that I posted it with, if it was the hashtags, if it was the hashtag for National Onion Day. I don't really know, but I was like so surprised when I saw that this morning. But anyway, I'm all about like wanting to give you guys super easy things that you can do. So let's say, you get a dozen roses for yourself, or somebody gives them to you, or, you might have like roses like this in your, yard. Some people do. And you can dry them out, and then I snipped them off and I glued them onto here. And then the petals for the yellow part, those I separated out individually. But getting back to the stripes, that was also supposed to be like people just being imprisoned by pollution. And there's a tiny little what I'm calling like a little latch here for like like a cell, like a prison cell, like we're being imprisoned by toxins in the atmosphere. And anytime that we can maybe use natural things to create art, or just to create or decorate or anything in general, I just thought that was that was my interpretation of the art that I created. But anyway, when I was down picking up the piece this afternoon, or pieces this afternoon with my husband, they have a 2-week kids summer camp going on. And I thought it was maybe like upstairs in one of their galleries, but they were using their huge main gallery downstairs. The kids had all brought their backpacks with them. They had ordered lunch for them. And they had like this humongous big screen TV with like this, I don't know, sort of like animated, like under the sea kind of thing. I don't know if maybe that was the theme of what they were working working on. And they had easels set up for the kids and all these long tables. And one of the ladies that was assisting me was one of the instructors. And she's like, I've always loved art as a child. And she said, as a kid, I always thought other kids should be interested in art because I was interested in it. And I'm like, well, this is awesome that you guys are doing this. And she's like, yeah, at the end of the week, the kids get to sell their pieces. And she's like, I've already bought one. Well, I only got to glimpse one of them because we were trying to get in and out because it was pouring, and we were, we had money kind of for our parking and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, one of these kids, and I don't know the age group, had done this incredible skull, and it looked like it was black and white. It looked like it was paint, and it would be nice if maybe they posted these online. I'm not really sure if they do. Maybe the exhibition is only like for the parents, or maybe it's open to the public. I'm not really sure. I think it goes on for like another week, but I was just happy to see that these kids were getting to, spend some of their time over the summer getting to create art with other kids. And, if I had the ability, and maybe in the future I would definitely volunteer to do something like that. But anyway, I'm just encouraging you guys to think outside of the box when you are making art. There's a lady that I follow that's an intuitive, and I've done some different things with her over the years where she's done different things with the chakras, and she always says, whatever you have, like if you have, highlighter markers, which I've done before, or you've got just a regular pencil, it doesn't really matter. And speaking of chakras, this is kind of interesting. So red is kind of a grounding color, and obviously these are sort of like earth elements and kind of, Mother Earth and grounding. And then the yellow is kind of, like our personal power color. And I just happened to choose these two colors because I thought that they went well together. And anyway, so I hope that gives you guys just a little bit of a behind the scenes of this particular piece called Flower Power, Peace and Love. And, a little bit of my process. I did post on some of my other platforms, like more detailed information about the artist statement, kind of like the things that I used. Again, I used tea bags to stain the original canvas so that it had more like a, not such a stark white color, more like a tannish color, if you will. And then I used dried roses to create the peace symbol. I used semi-wilted red roses to create the two various colors. One's like more like a fuchsia-ish color, the other's like a deeper purple, and then I cut them into strips, and then I scattered these other ones on there because I kind of wanted them to just sort of like they were blowing in the wind type of thing. And anyway, I will probably, in the next day or two or soon show you the behind the scenes of the other two. I am saving these. I'm repurposing them and putting the full one on one of my other channels on YouTube if you ever want to watch the whole thing again. And then another really cool thing is, depending on where you live or if you have access to it, bougainvillea are incredible for using the plant pigment. We have two different bougainvillea in the backyard. They come in a variety of colors. Most likely you're probably familiar with like the deep pink ones. Then there's like a purple one, there's yellow, and then there's like these hybrid ones. They're like these fuchsia pink. That is a really good way to get the plant pigments out. I will say a couple of years ago, I did an incredible piece where I cut petals with, edged scissors, and I used bougainvillea stained paper, and then for the leaves I used like spinach stained paper, I believe, or it could have been the onion peels. And over the years it has faded quite a bit, even though I had it like in cellophane. I'm sure there's some kind of way that you could protect that with a sealant. I didn't want to do that. Thankfully I got pictures of it beforehand. And then one of the other pieces that I'm going to show you, that one I took pieces and put them on there, three-dimensional, but I took a picture prior to attaching all of that. And that particular design, I am going to at some point upload to one of the sites where you can buy artwork print to order, because I just really liked the pattern. This would probably be too busy, although I do have one that is dried roses that I've taken a photograph of, and it was just a bunch of dried roses grouped together. Then I kind of fooled around a little bit with the filters and changed it a little bit, and it's really cool. Like, it's like I kind of associate it with Beauty for Ashes, but also like Beauty and the Beast. It's like just a ton of red roses that I've kind of, made a little bit brighter, but it looks so cool, like on an all over piece, like on a dress or like on a bedspread or a pillow or a shower curtain or something like that. So anyway, thank you all for being here live. Thank you for, watching this. I didn't really have anything to show you. I wished I did, but I just wanted to explain, the different process, the different natural things that I used, and a little bit of the history behind it. And I appreciate y'all, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.